Welcome into episode 24 of the Educational Duct Tape podcast. In this season 2 premiere episode, I'll update you on some exciting developments in EdTech and in my professional adventures, as well as on some exciting changes coming to the Educational Duct Tape podcast.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Glenn from the On Education podcast, and we're part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to the Educational Duct Tape podcast with Jake Miller.
Duct Tapers! I have missed you all! It's funny, I do all of the talking and you do all of the listening, but somehow I have missed this so much. It's simultaneously weird and wonderful, the connection that I've developed with my audience. I am so happy to be back in front of this microphone and to have you here listening once again. And if you're a new listener, welcome in and thanks for joining us. I hope that you'll go back and check out the episodes from season 1. Saying that my guests and their insights are listen-worthy is an understatement. You've just got to go back and listen. Trust me. A little intro for you newbies. My name is Jake Miller. I'm an EdTech and learning enthusiast, an educator, a nerd, a podcaster, a father, a speaker, a hard G GIF pronouncer, a consultant, a dad joker, an edu GIF maker, a goofball, a former math, science, and STEM teacher, an Ohioan, a tech coach, and the host of this show. That pretty much brings you up to speed, but there's so much more for you to hear back in season 1. Without it, you won't know about high horses, tater tot casseroles, duct tapers, bounce houses, identical twins, soap boxes, ducts in the wild, how many countries there are in the world, things that are less torturous than other things, if Shooks and GIF are EdTech BFFs, if Carly Mora and Sean Fahey are EdTech BFFs, or so many other things without listening. Oh, and some EdTech stuff too. We also did learn things, so you should also listen for that. So, new duct tapers, after this season premiere episode, the podcast will settle into a format that will be familiar to all of our other listeners, and it goes a little something like this. I feel like I should break into a beat right there. It goes a little something like this, actually. We start off with me rambling about whatever things pop into my mind. I tell you where I'll be speaking in the near future. Then I climb aboard my trusty soapbox to talk to you about what I believe to be inspirational notions about educational technology. After that, I welcome in a different fabulous guest in each episode. The guest and I will play a quick game. You'll learn more about that soon. And then we dig into 2 different classroom questions, goals, or problems. Our knowledgeable guest and our less knowledgeable host, that's me, will then take a stab at answering those questions with an EdTech tool. Great chatting will ensue, but then my favorite part of the show comes. That's the part where we hear from the duct tapers. That's you guys. Each episode, I'll share an Apple Podcast review, or maybe 2, some of my favorite hashtag EduDuctTape tweets, and an entry from the Educational Duct Tape Flipgrid page. So that's 3, count them, 3 ways that you can get your voice or your words on the show. Hook me up with a review on Apple Podcasts, tweet about the show with the hashtag EduDuctTape, bonus points if it's fun or funny, or respond to one of the prompts on the grid, flipgrid.com/EduDuctTape, which you can also find by clicking the appropriate link on EduDuctTape.com. Well, then that brings the newbies up to speed on that stuff. So now I need to bring our loyal duct tapers up to speed on some updates and changes to your favorite podcast. Maybe not favorite. I'll go back and edit that out and change it to this podcast. I just did air quotes right there in an audio-only podcast. I'm in mid-season form already, guys. Air quotes on the radio. So before we get to those aforementioned changes and announcements, I just want to share that I am fresh off of some amazing experiences. First, ISTE in June, where I met so many duct tapers. I smiled a lot, I laughed a lot, I posed for selfies a lot, and I learned a lot. I'm literally counting down the days to next ISTE. I hope I make it back. Then a refreshing family vacation to Siesta Key. We love it there. If given the choice, I think my family would take up permanent residence in the Orange Octopus ice cream shop. If you've ever been, give me a shout out. Let me know what your favorite flavor is. Anyhow, around that time, I also launched cohort 2 of GIF a Day Google Sheets Level 1, which is still going strong. Actually, it's about to wrap up. Cohort 3 and Level 2 will be launching sometime in this fall. Right now, I am fresh off of 3 invigorating adventures as a speaker. First to Burlington, New Jersey to speak to some awesome administrators. Next to the awesome online Teach with Tech conference. And finally to Cypress Fairbanks in Texas to rub elbows with some of my favorite educators and talk about EdTech to just about anyone that would listen to me. I had so much fun on both of those trips, as well as in the online Teach with Tech conference. But alas, here I am burying the lead. You see, those 2 speaking gigs confirmed something for me. I love getting out there and talking to as many educators as I can, and that confirmed it for me. It's truly what fills my tank, and because of that, I'm taking a year off from my day job. Yes, my wonderful school district, Orange City Schools in Ohio, has generously allowed me to take a year off to pursue my speaking and writing dreams, and so my calendar is looking much clearer, so please reach out if you could think of any speaking, consulting, or collaborating opportunities for me. JakeMillerTech@gmail.com. JakeMillerTech@gmail.com. Wait, what? No, it's not your turn yet. I know that's what I'm going to talk about when it's soapbox time. You're right. I'm just not ready yet. Hold your horses. No, high horse, not you. I'm sure I'll need you at some point too, but not right now. Anyhow, where was I? Yes, changes. Wait. First, speaking. Now that I told you where I have been speaking, I should also tell you where I will be speaking. August and September are kind of empty, but I'm excited to be at Tecumseh Local Schools and Twinsburg Schools in Ohio, the Quincy Conference in Illinois, and the TCCA Summit in Texas in October. In November, I'm honored to be the keynote at Michigan's MiGoogle conference and a mini-keynote at the Ideastream Technology and Learning Conference in Cleveland. I'm not a mini-keynoter, like a miniature version of me. No, I'm doing a mini-keynote, kind of like a TED Talk, minus the large red TED on the stage behind me. I'm envisioning actually a large red Jake in place of the TED, though. Ann Radefeld, can you make that happen for me? Let me know. What else? Let's see. I'll also be at the Teach Better conference in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio in November. I'll be doing a little thing on the Ohio Google Educator Group's monthly Google Hangout on August 29th. Thank you to the amazing Eric Kurtz and Stephanie Howell for that invite. You can also hear me on a recent episode of the EduFuturists podcast, which is always good fun. I've done a few other podcasts recently, and I'll share about them in next week's episode. Okay, so that brings you up to speed on all of that. So I've told you about the changes in my professional life, but what about in this podcast? I did say at the beginning there were changes coming to this podcast. Well, a rolling stone gathers no moss, and so I want to try out a little change here. I think you'll end up liking it. There's good news and there's bad news. Which one do you want first? Yeah. Oh, I can't actually hear you, so I'm just going to start with the bad. I'm going to dial the show back to every other week, still on Wednesday morning, but every other week. I know, right? Groan. Sorry, but the good news will make up for it. I promise. You see, the connections with all of you is my favorite part of this show, and I want more. I want more connections. I want to hear you more. You see, educational technology isn't one size fits all. We all have different styles and choose different tools and different ways to address different problems, goals, and topics. And so I want to hear your ideas. So on the off weeks, those weeks where there's no new educational duct tape episode, there will be a hashtag EduDuctTape Twitter chat. Yes, it's true. I can't wait. It may fall flat on its face, or it may be legend. Wait for it. Dairy. It's got potential, I think. I hope. Well, it does if you'll help me out. So here's what I need from you. You listen to the show sometime between the day it comes out and the following Wednesday. That gives you a whole week. And then that Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, whatever the heck time that is in your time zone, we all meet in the Twitterverse for a 30-minute chat. And you'll already know the questions. There will be 4. The first will be related to the game that the guest and I played in that previous episode, and the second, it'll be related to the SoapBox moment from that week, and the third, well, it'll be the first educational duct tape question that the guest and I address, and then the fourth, you guessed it, is the other question that we addressed. And you'll get to share your thoughts. Maybe it's a different answer than what we shared, or maybe it's a twist on what we shared, or your reflection on what we shared, or your adjacent possible induced upgrade or remix to what we shared. And I cannot wait to hear what you share. I really can't. You all are amazing, and it's your turn to share too. So next week, our guest will be Stacy Roshan. You probably know her from on Twitter at BuddyXO, or as the author of Tech with Heart, Leveraging Technology to Empower Student Voice, Ease Anxiety, and Create Compassionate Classrooms. So next week, she will be on the show. We're going to talk about some special back-to-school topics to get you geared up for your school year. And then the following week, we will have a Twitter chat on that following Wednesday, and we will talk about the same things that Stacy and I talk about during the podcast. So when you're listening to Stacy next week on the 21st, or whenever you listen, think about what responses do I have? What thoughts do I have about what Stacy and Jake have to say? Save them up for the following week on the 28th, when that evening at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will have a chat, and you will have the opportunity to share and discuss with other duct tapers. How fun is that going to be? I am so pumped for it. So some of you, I could practically hear you, are like, Jake, hold on, here's your voice.
Jake, how am I going to remember to be on Twitter for the chat?
Yeah, Jake, what if we forget? Yeah, then what? Well, guess what, friend? You've got a weird voice. Also, I've got you covered. In the show notes is a link to an educational duct tape Google Calendar. Click on it, click Add to My Calendar down in the bottom right corner, and you'll have the chats along with the reminders about them on your calendar. Bam! Problem solved. Hey, by the way, that's a little something we call educational duct tape for you right there. Oh, hey, Jake, we have a problem. Yeah, how will we remember? Never fear, for technology is at its best when it is used to solve a problem or meet a goal. So I, EduDuctTape man, will make a Google Calendar. You know, I feel like I'm not being inclusive of our Microsoft friends here. If you're a Microsoftie, see what I did there? And you're up for helping me figure out how to make the calendar more accessible for them, please send me an email or tweet. I don't know, maybe I could just put in a link to a Microsoft calendar. I really don't know how that works, but let me know if you can help me out with that. And so now you're up to speed. Jake's taking a year off from his day job. Jake's begging you to reach out if you know of an event or school in need of a speaker or consultant. The podcast is going to every other week, and there will be a hashtag EduDuctTape Twitter chat Wednesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the off weeks, where we discuss the previous week's content. And if you feel like you can't keep in mind those dates of those chats, subscribe to that calendar that I've got the link to in the show notes. And now... yes, friend. Now it's your turn. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Let me just grab my soapbox from over here. Yeah. There we go. That's perfect. Climb up on there. Motivational speaker and all-around rock star Brené Brown says, you can choose courage or you can choose comfort. You cannot have both. I love this quote. And it's right up there with the Maya Angelou one and the Dr. King one that I reference so often. And it's no coincidence that I'm choosing to talk about it today. You see, I have a great job at a school district working on challenging problems with awesome educators. And it's a safe job. And I like it. And it's comfortable. But I have something else that I'm itching to do. And I've been itching to do it for a while. And starting this podcast was my first true step towards it. But the next step requires courage. And I've been building up that courage for a few years. And if I don't act on that courage, if I let it build and then I push it aside with inaction, if I embrace comfort and nothing more, if I choose comfort over courage, I will regret it. I will regret it for the rest of my life. And here I go. I'm leaping. I'm going to see what I can make happen this year. As Seth Godin says, I'm going to make a ruckus. And speaking of ruckus, I'm taking a perfectly good weekly podcast and messing with the format. This show and the outpouring of love and support from its listeners, it's been comfortable. It required courage at first, for sure, but now it's comfortable. And so I'm choosing courage here too. I'm trying out this every other week podcast, Twitter chat rotation format. And you know what? It may fail, but you know what? It may kill it. It may create a ripple effect that impacts students. And with that, I'm sold.
Welcome to McDonald's. Can I take your order, please?
Yes, I'll take courage, please. Jake, you're in charge of the board now. Where would you like to go? Yes, Alex, I'll take courage for 200, please. Hold on, let me try that again. Mr. Connery, the board is yours. Where would you like to go?
Yes, Trebek. I'll take cow rage for 200, please.
That's courage.
Thank you, Trebek.
Ah, yes, High Horse. I have wandered a bit from my point, haven't I? I guess what I want you to get from this is you're about to start a new school year. Are you choosing courage? Are you choosing comfort? I know what you're choosing. You wouldn't be listening if you were the kind of person who isn't a courageous educator. So now's the time. What courageous thing are you going to do in your classroom or school this year? Click pause. Tell yourself what it's going to be. I'll wait right here for you. I bet you had like 15 ideas. I know you. Duct tapers are like that. Diving in for a second Seth Godin quote in 3, 2, 1. People like us do things like this. And people like us, back to Jake now, not Seth. People like us duct tapers, we want to integrate lots of wonderful tech things into our classes. But be careful. Don't overwhelm yourself. Don't overwhelm your students. Choose carefully. You don't have to do it all. You just have to do something. You've just got to keep moving forward. So I'll ask it again. What courageous thing are you going to do in your classroom or school this year? Say it out loud. I'm not listening, but you are. And you're the only one who needs to hear it. Click pause. Say it. Wow, that's a great idea. You could totally pull that off, and your learners will totally benefit from that. You are awesome. Way to be courageous. Wow, that got kind of heavy there, right? Let's have some fun now and hear from the duct tapers. First up, let's do some Apple Podcast reviews. I've got 2 to share today. The first one comes from AplinTeacher, our friend Susan. The title of the review is Pedagogy plus Technology equals, and then my phone cuts it off. I don't know what it equals, so I'll have to check from on my computer to see what it equals. I hope it's a compliment. And the message says, Jake's podcast is what educators need. He starts with sound instructional practices and explores how technology can help improve what we do in the classroom. Besides Jake's soapbox segments and his sense of humor, what I love most about this podcast is that Jake makes it clear that there is no right way or perfect tool that teachers should use to meet a need. He respects that teachers are professionals who make choices based on what's best for their students and their situations. Thank you, Jake, for your ideas and inspiration. Susan, thank you so much. Thank you for being part of this community. I really appreciate you as well. And I got to tell you, like, the compliments to me in there about the soapbox segments and my sense of humor, I really do appreciate those oh so much. But what really feels good in there is that Susan is hearing in there what I want to hear, and that's that there's no right way, there's no perfect tool. I understand the challenges that you go through, and I understand that each of your rooms, and each of your content, and each of your sets of classes are different. And as long as you keep challenging yourself to move forward, whether it's a little or a lot, you're doing something good for students. Let's do one more review. This one comes from my buddy Christopher Nesi from the House of EdTech podcast, from the Podcast PD podcast, from the EDU podcast network. And he says, I'm very excited about this new EdTech podcast, and I think the production value and content is fantastic. If you're interested in educational technology and more, you definitely need to subscribe to this podcast. Thank you, Chris. And you listeners, you need to go subscribe to Chris's 2 podcasts. And so many of the other ones in the Educational Podcast Network. And so now let's jump over to the hashtag EduDuctTape tweets. Normally I call them the hashtag EduDuctTape tweets of the week, but they're the hashtag EduDuctTape tweets of like the last 2.5 months, because I haven't read any since June, whatever it was when I did that last episode. So here are my favorites from over the summertime. First one comes up from @ReadingIn6th. Our friend Melissa says, woohoo! I look forward to my ride into school this morning now. There's no better way to start your your day than by listening to hashtag EduDuctTape. Melissa, I really appreciate it. There probably are better ways to start your day. Like you could wake up to like winning $1 million or somebody come over to your house and cooking you breakfast or something like that. But I'm glad that my podcast is part of your morning routine and that you're enjoying it so much. Next up, our friend at Hartel30, John, says, summer is a great time to catch up on or get into a podcast. Why not start with hashtag EduDuctTape? And not just because I make a cameo, or is it a voiceo? Every episode is humorous, but equally or more so informative. And John, I shared this one because I appreciate that you're appreciating both the humor and the information. That's my goal, is to have some fun and bring some information too. Next up, our friend at Sean J. Fahey, a guest from season 1, back in episode 6, I believe it was. He said the hashtag EduDuctTape season 1 giggle mix. I knew the baby teeth moment from my interview with at JakeMillerTech was going to be in there. Yeah, Sean, that had to be in there. And for those new listeners out there, I recommend you go back to the season finale and listen to the giggle mix. I had so much fun putting that together, and back to Sean's episode to find out what the baby teeth moment was all about. Next up, at Frop Fairview, F-A-R-U-P Fairview, said, okay, so I blame you at Katie M. Ritter, and there's some underscores in there, and you at Ms. Ashley 2015, and you too at Rosemary_edu for getting me addicted to Twitter. I spent the time at the playground with the at JakeMillerTech podcast while chasing my kids. You were right at Miller Lynn Teach. His boozecast is awesome. Hashtag EduDuctTape. I think she meant to type podcast, but her phone's autocorrect got her that one. You know, it's not booze like B-O-O-Z-E. It's booze B-O-O-S. But regardless, Laura, I get the point. You enjoyed the show. That's all that matters, whether you go to boozecast or not. Boo, boo. So thank you, Laura. Regardless, I just wanted to tease you a little bit there. At next, Keisha, at Keisha Biospec. Keisha Bio SPEC said, leisurely mending clothes and listening to hashtag EduDuctTape. Perfect, surprisingly soothing morning. I have no duct tape right now, but that is a good thing in this case, I think. Keisha, I gotta say, you're definitely the first person who's listening to the podcast while mending clothes, or at least the first one that's told me that. I've never mended clothes at all myself, and so I'm honored that you're mending clothes while listening. So that's great. Next up, our friend at Mo_physics, a good friend Mike, says, "Hey, at JakeMillerTech, first day off has given me time to go back and listen to the first hashtag EduDuctTape shows I missed. Excited for episode 1. Can't wait for Jar Jar." Yeah, Mike. Just wait until Darth Maul comes out with his two-sided lightsaber. I've got bad news about Qui-Gon Jinn, though. Our friend Lance at Dr. McClard says the kids got to meet a lot of familiar faces last night. He's referring to the Educational Podcast Network meetup that we had at ISTE at some of the local cheesesteak places. He said, I kind of forgot to take pictures, but here they are getting some hashtag EduDuctTape stickers. Hashtag ISTE19. So I got to tell for the rest of you, we're at this meetup in front of this cheesecake place. Some of the people are in line waiting to get their cheesecakes. Others of us are kind of milling around talking to each other. And I waved to Lance, and I waved to Matt Miller, and I waved to all the other people. I'm just talking to whoever else is around that happens to be there. And then 2 kids come up to me and say, can I have some stickers? I'm like, okay, some children want some of my stickers. I guess maybe there's a chance they know who I am. And I look up to see Lance in line for his cheesecake with a big smile on his face. It's a funny memory for me, Lance. I hope the kids are listening and hearing me. They were so nice. We talked about football. I'm not sure what else we talked about, but it was nice chatting with them. So cool they were along for the ride. Next up, at Creeds_crew, our friend Mike, reliving when we met at my ISTE session. And his tweet says, pumped for stop motion slides with at JakeMillerTech. JM, hi, I'm Jake. Me, I'm Mike. I cut hashtag EduDuctTape in my lawn. JM, yes, you did. Politely smiles and moves farther away and signals for security. Memories. Like, that was a fun one. I still, to this day, I'm like telling my friends, like, this guy cut the hashtag for our podcast on his lawn. It was great meeting you, Mike. Hope we run into each other next year at ISTE 20. Next up, at Engage Educate, our friend Laura Cahill said the rumors are true. At JakeMillerTech brings his soapbox with him everywhere, so he appears taller in pictures. This was accompanied with one of our selfies together at ISTE. I was definitely standing on a soapbox now, Laura. That's exactly what happened. Next, At I am Ran EdTech. Hey, at JakeMillerTech, what's the phrase you use in your hashtag EduDuctTape podcast? Proximal possibility? Tangential possibility? The bit about step-by-step development and progress for teachers. Much love for your show all the way from Singapore. Muhammad, I apologize. I've got to share this because this actually made me laugh out loud when you were like thinking this through. Is it proximal possibility? Is it tangential possibility? I really got a kick out of this tweet. And then he responded to himself a few minutes later and said, oh, it's adjacent possible. But that one cracked me up. And finally, our last one for the summertime tweets with the hashtag EduDuctTape comes from at BlueSquareX. Lisa Marie says, hey, at Virtual GIF, had to pause my hashtag EduDuctTape podcast this morning and pull up Heaven is a Place on Earth to listen to. Thank goodness for the stoplight and Apple Music. Tiffany is next. Yeah, we had some fun talking 80s music with Jen Giffen and Kim Polishuk in their 2 episodes. Next, let's hear from who are our new hashtag EduDuctTape tweeters. Well, there were a lot over the summertime. This list is not nearly as long during the regular season, but hey, we've got 2.5 months of new tweeters to mention here, so here we go. First up, we've got at _David_Allen, at _Joshua Garrett, at Ang _Ebert, I bet that's an Angela there, at Angie H. Ford, at Bemery Tech, at B. Santama, who was the first person I met at ISTE that actually knew who I was. That was so cool, Brian. At CMMS _Tech Diva, at Elizabeth King 88, at Gianna Tarantino, at Girl Ref, at Jacob Dunn, at JHawks1, at Jill M. Berkey, at J. Matt Miller, who's that? At J.R. Sowash, at Casey Coleman 1, at Keaton YV, at Kelly Tech Ed, at Kendra Milburn, at Kevin Rinneman, at K. Martin Tahoe, at like _ above, at L.O. Chichioa, I'm sorry, at Manny Discotech. Manny, I think this is a trick that is in there. Maybe it's because you changed your Twitter handle there. At M Eccles 214, at MICHE Lensena, at Madam Burgess, at Molly _ Maddox, at Mo Spillman, at Mr. _ Cuevas with a 3 in place of the E there, at Mr. _ J Spike, at Mr. Nunez Teach, at Mrs. Caslow TMS, at Mrs. Doolin, at Mrs. Jamie Halsey, at Mrs. Jen Goodman, at Mrs. Lieben, at Mrs. Payden First, at Mr. Workemma, at MS Shaw 27, at MTSD _ 3G, at My Gifted Gazette, at New Prof Cast, at NM Cali Girl 95, at Olathe South LMC, at Paula Frank 07, at P. McGonagall EDU, that's probably Professor McGonagall there, and she is the head of Gryffindor House, at Pope English, at Reading in 6th, at Read Ed Tech, at Reset EDU, at R.L. Krosky, at S. Fessich, at S.J. Burns 5, at Sue Grammatico, at Teacher Nerds with a Z, at Teach PG 21, at Tech with Parson, at Terry YO 95, at the IT Person with an I instead of an O there, at Tommy Spall, and finally at Wizard Warren. And now let's jump onto the educational oh my gosh, I only got out of breath after all those. And now let's jump onto the educational duct tape Flipgrid and see who's got something to share with us.
Hi, Teresa Turner. I'm a kinder through 5th grade music teacher in McKinney, Texas. At Tuneful Techie is my Twitter handle. And I have been listening to EduDuctTape for a while. I absolutely love the podcast. I love adding to my toolbox of things and possibilities and just kind of hopefully thinking about ways that I can apply it with my music students to answer certain questions and problems and get my students engaged in creating in new and innovative kind of ways. I wanted to respond to one of the latest ones that I've watched. I was a little bit behind. I usually listen in my car, but lately it's been while I'm setting up the stage and striking the stage. So I was just listening to one where you were talking about saving video files on Google Drive and being admonished because you don't do that and then you back them up later. I will make a suggestion. I think you may be doing the right thing, and the software may have improved since then, but I got caught in kind of an issue. I tried saving some audio and video files, and my computer, especially when the Wi-Fi is slower, I don't know if it's from processing the save file through the application I was using, iMovie and Audacity, and somewhere between them saving and processing the file and the files being uploaded to Google Drive, some files will ended up being corrupted. And it may just be a glitchy kind of thing, but just proceed with caution if you do set them up to automatically update.
Thanks for that call into the Educational Duct Tape Flipgrid board there, Teresa. I really appreciate you listening and you sharing on the grid and your thoughts on the Google Drive automatic syncing from the hard drive. I think that was Corey Matthias who was picking on me for not automatically backing everything up to my Google Drive, which I probably should be, but she has some good words of caution there to make extra sure that everything's backing up correctly and not corrupted. Maybe we need to have it on the hard drive and backed up there and then check it before we delete it or something or another. I don't know, but extra cautious. Speaking of extra cautious, please be extra cautious to be ready next Wednesday to listen to the next episode of the Educational Duct Tape podcast, where my guest will be the awesome Stacy Roshan, author of Tech with Heart, Leveraging Technology to Empower Student Voice, Ease Anxiety, and Create Compassionate Classrooms. I'm so excited to have her on the show. She's somebody I've been following for quite a while, and I'm excited to have her perspective here on the show, and I'm excited to celebrate with her new book. Anyhow, after that, we will then have our first hashtag EduDuctTape Twitter chat the following week on Wednesday, but don't worry, I'll remind you about that all next week. So you're hearing this on the release date. It's August 14th, August 21st, you'll have Stacy on the show. August 28th, you'll have the chat. And then the following Wednesday, we'll be back with another episode. I hope you'll be there to listen. If you haven't subscribed to the show, please go do that so you can make sure you don't miss any episodes. If you'd like to hear your name or your voice or your words on the show, remember it's hashtag EduDuctTape out there on social media, or leave a review on Apple Podcasts, or head over to the Flipgrid at eduducttape.com/Flipgrid or flipgrid.com/eduducttape. Either one will actually work, and you'll be able to give some feedback there. As always, thank you for being here. I'm so excited to get back at it. I'm excited for the school year to start. I'm excited to see all the things that you guys do in your classrooms and all the things that you share at our new Twitter chats. Thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Educational Duct Tape podcast. Please visit EduDuctTape.com to join the discussion, share possible topics, inquire about being a guest, or contact Jake. And remember, duct is spelled with a T, not a quack quack K.